Hello all. So today we will be discussing with the ratio analysis chapter. So chapter number 5. Okay. So basically we have discussed in the classes the tools for analyzing the financial statement. So which are the tools that we have already discussed? The comparative financial statement where there are 2 years data which will be compared and the analysis of the balance sheet, analysis of the income statement was done. And one more was the common size financial statement. Out of this also, the balance sheets analysis and the income statement was done. The trend analysis, which was majorly indicated as the index number, where you was analyzing the financial statement in order to reveal the trend of an item through the passage of time, which is used to indicate the financial statement, how the financial statement goes on, and how well the time passes, how well the sales changes, or how well the operating profit changes, or how well the number of items which is going to appear, the stock changes, or it may be a profit changes, which we have discussed in the trend analysis. So today we will be learning about the ratio analysis. So I'll tell you later. Here, in the case of ratio analysis, the relationship which will be found out between the two values. Okay. In the case of comparative common size and the trend analysis also, we used to compare the data. Here in the ratio analysis also, the relationship which will be found out between the two values. Clear? So we'll be also discuss further there. So one more is DuPont analysis. So what actually this is not there for your syllabus, but for the information, DuPont analysis is one of the model which is basically for the financial ratio, which is based on return on equity ratio. So what is return on equity ratio and what is the purpose of usages which is used to analyze, especially this DuPont analysis is used to analyze the company's ability, okay, and to increase its return on equity, to analyze how well the company can perform or how well the company is able to perform and increase its equity or return on equity will be analyzed with this analysis of financial statement. Okay. So what is DuPont analysis? DuPont analysis especially used to analyze the company's ability. So there also it was used to analyze the company's ability only. But here one more is it is going to increase the return on equity. In simple terms, how company can increase the return for the investor will be studied in the case of DuPont analysis. And fund flow statement and the cash flow statement. In the case of fund flow statement, all the transactions which were considered, and in the case of cash flow statement, only the cash items were used to considered and analysis used to be made. And what is this economic value added? Economic value added is nothing but especially it is to estimate the firm's economic profit. Here, economic value added especially introduced to identify the firm's economic profit. So by the term economic value added, so how can you identify the economic profit? It is identified by net profit, which will be deducted from the capital changes, which is raising from the capital. Okay. So whatever the capital that is going to be raised out of the firm's capital, irrespective of the debt, irrespective of the types of equity, so which will be deducted from the net profit. So you are going to arrive with the economic value added. Clear? Economic value added, simply the analysis of financial statement which was introduced to find out the firm's economic profit. Clear? And what is balance scorecard? Balance scorecard by the term which is going to be called as one of the performance metric. Okay. So what actually this performance metric is? Performance metric is especially used to understand and study and also to identify and improve the control of the business, various with the functions and resulting the outcomes. So which means, which is going to be used to identify, improve, and also to control a business over and various functions, which is going to result the outcomes. Okay, which is simply nothing but it is going to understand how well the performance, whether the firm's performance is good or whether the firm performance is bad, or whether it is going to be a stable, will be understood with the balance scorecard. Clear? So these are the tools for analysis of the financial statement. So out of this, for your syllabus, you are having with the comparative financial statement, common size financial statement, trend analysis, ratio analysis that we'll be discussing, fund flow as well as the cash flow statement for your syllabus. Clear? So we will go for what actually the meaning of ratio analysis, and we shall see today. So what are the formulas pertaining to find outing the ratio analysis? Kinds of formula that we are going to discuss. So what is actually ratio? Ratio is an expression of relation between two numerical values. So it is going to express the in the terms of accounting only. So which is going to be understood and to find out the relationship between the two numbers. It may be, take an example, there is a current assets and the current liability. It is going to estimate and find out the ratio between the current assets and the current liability, irrespective of the assets or irrespective of the liability, which is going to analyze, which is going to state which ratio is higher or which ratio is decreasing, and what improvement that can be found out and what improvement that can be done, whether it is increasing or whether it is decreasing. For that reason, ratio analysis is used. A particular field and particular field improvement can be done with the help of ratio analysis. Whereas in the case of fund flow and the cash flow, in order to differentiate, there was no particular field. There was interest to be shown and the improvement was done. It was pulled together and all the items were used to recorded in the fund flow and the cash flow, and you will be suggesting whether the firm is increasing with the fund from operation or whether the firm is getting the loss. That was used to just identifying it. But here in the case of ratio analysis, it is purely identifying in a particular field whether how well the company can perform or how well the company can pay debts. It may be a short-term debt or it may be a long-term debt, will be analyzed with this ratio analysis concept. Clear? I hope you got the idea. So ratio analysis is simply nothing but to identify what are the company's ability to pay its debts. Okay. So that will be analyzed with the help of this analysis of the ratios. Find outing the ratio and identifying and rectifying the errors, then analyzing the situations and giving the result on interpreting the results will be implied with the case of ratio analysis. So here in the case of ratio analysis, which can be understood as the process of 3Cs. So which are the 3Cs we will learn? So it is going to calculate the accounting ratios and also the comparisons of the calculated ratio with the ideal or a earlier period ratio or competitors ratio or industry average ratio, and also it includes conclude about the performance of the business on reports. So this is how the process of 3Cs goes on with the ratio analysis. First you will find out the accounting ratio, then there will be a comparing activity which is going to happen with the ideal ratio and with the earlier ratio or with the competitors ratio, and then you are going to give some certain suggestions based on the performance which is being made by the firm. Clear? Next, so we shall see accounting ratio and certain the types and meanings and how the calculation goes on with this capital, certain accounting ratios. Basically here you will be learning about 4 accounting ratios. One is liquidity ratio, One is capital structure ratio. Other one is activity or turnover ratio, profitability or performance ratio. Okay. So we will see first with the liquidity ratio. First, we'll move on with the liquidity ratio and make it as very important account these four. So what is liquidity ratio? So liquidity ratio is nothing but it is the ratio which is used to measure the short-term solvency of a business enterprise. Okay, in simple terms, we will understand what is liquidity ratio is. So liquidity ratio is nothing but the ability of the company to meet its financial obligations. Okay, whenever that is going to occur it as a due, whenever it is going to arrive it as a due, how well the company can pay its debts or pay its short-term solvency to the in the terms of any, if it is any debt arises, how well the company meet its obligation to pay its debts earlier as soon as it is going to end it, how well the company is going to pay. So that will be studied in the liquidity ratio. By the term itself it is liquidity. Okay, so how well the company can pay its debts to the parties and meet its financial obligations will be studied in the case of liquidity ratio. Okay, so the same meaning here. It is the measure the short-term solvency of the business enterprise, and also it is the ability of the business enterprise in meeting, that is how well the company is going to pay debts its to its short-term liability. And there are the liquidity ratio includes the following. So the formula to calculate the liquidity ratio has three kinds. One is the current ratio, other one is quick ratio or liquid ratio, and it is also called as the acid test ratio. Other one is cash ratio or absolute liquid ratio. Clear? So I'll analyze this first, then I'll tell you what exactly this current ratio and other things is. So ratio, these are the kinds of ratio, meaning we will discuss, and also the formula we will discuss, and the inclusion we will discuss, and ideal ratio. So before moving to anything, we shall see what actually this ideal ratio is. So ideal ratio is nothing but it is a stark indication of financial soundness of a business concern. Okay, what is ideal ratio? Ideal ratio just identifies how well the firm is making a sound, or how well the firm is performing with its the current assets or with its current liability will be analyzed with the help of the ideal ratio. And it also shows the outline indication. Okay, so it is just showing the outline indication of the financial soundness of the business concern. So we shall see now what is current ratio and what is the formula to calculate the current ratio. So meaning of calculating the current ratio, it refers to the ratio between the current assets and the current liability. The current ratio analyzes the ratio which will be indicated between the current assets and the current liability. So which is nothing but the current assets will be divided with the current liability. So what are the current assets includes here? So all the current assets which is going to be included will appear here. Current assets includes the inventories, receivables, cash and bank balance, accruals, and marketable security, and the prepaid expenses. So the current liability include the creditors, short-term loans, bank, overdraft, outstanding expenses, incomes received in advance, and the provisions. And what is the ideal ratio? I told you what is ideal ratio. Ideal ratio is nothing but it is a stark, or it is a outline indication of the financial soundness, how well the company is going to increase its efficiency, or how well the company is making stability in the organization. So it is current assets is 2, which gives the ideal ratio for the current assets moves on with the 2, and for the current liability it is 1. Okay, and now quick ratio is also nothing but the liquid ratio, or it is also called as the acid test ratio. So what does actually this is? It refers to the ratio between the liquid assets. Okay, in the case of current assets, it includes all the assets, all the current assets, not only the assets, it is just a current assets. But here it includes only the liquid assets and the liquid liability. So you can also quote it as liquid assets divided by liquid liability, or you can also write it as quick assets divided by quick liability. So what does this quick assets includes? Quick assets includes all the current assets except the stock or the inventory and the prepaid expenses. Clear? The quick assets doesn't include the stock and the prepaid expenses. And what does the quick liability includes? Quick liability includes all the current liability but except the bank overdraft and income, any income received in advance, which is not going to be included under the quick liability. Clear? So what is the ideal ratio which shows with the 1:1 ratio? How the financial fund soundness of a business concern will be analyzed here. So quick assets includes all the current assets other than the stock and the prepaid expenses. Quick liability includes all the current liability other than the bank overdraft and the income received in advance. Now there is the cash ratio. So cash ratio indicates only the short-term liquidity positions when receivables are not considered. And it is also called as the absolute ratio. So cash ratio, which is going to indicate the short-term liquidity positions. So what is the formula to calculate your absolute liquid ratio and the which will be divided with the current liability? So what is absolute liquid ratio? Absolute liquid assets includes the cash and also the marketable security. And its ratio is 0.5 will be compared with the 1. Okay. So absolute liquid assets falls on with the 0.5 and current liability falls on with the 1 is the ideal ratio. Clear with the liquidity ratio? Liquidity ratio especially used to analyze and used to measure the short-term solvency of the business enterprise here. Okay. Now we will move on with the capital structure ratio. So before moving on with the capital structure ratio, we will see what is actually the capital structure is. So capital structure is nothing but the combination of what? Debt and the equity. So capital structure is going to consist with the debt and the equity, which is used by the company to finance its overall growth as well as the operations. For the growth as well as for the overall improvement of the company or overall improvement and the overall operations of the company, you need this capital structure. Irrespective of the capital structure, it may be a debentures or it may be equity share capital or it may be any preference share capital. In order to run or in order to meet the growth, you need this capital structure. So the capital structure ratio we shall see. They refers to the ratio which indicates the capital structure of the company, the risk associated with the capital structure and the long-term solvency position of the company. Listen here. In the case of liquidity ratio, it was only relating to a short-term solvency. So short-term solvency is nothing but which can be met or which can be dealt only within a particular year, within a 1 year. Say for example, 1 year, all the debts should be cleared. But the capital structure is it is going to meet with the long-term solvency position of the company. The capital ratio is broadly classified into two categories. One is leverage ratio, other one is the coverage ratio. Okay. So what is leverage ratio? Leverage ratio is going to indicate the pattern of capital structure. So what is pattern of capital structure? Pattern of capital structure is nothing but irrespective of it is purchased from the equity share capital, or it is from the proprietor's capital, or it is from the debt or the debentures. And the extent of risk associated with the capital structure will be analyzed with the leverage ratio. These two are the very important here. Leverage ratio identifies the pattern of capital structure and also what is the risk associated with these capital structure will be analyzed with the leverage ratio. So below the leverage ratio, there are four kinds. One is the proprietary ratio, other one is the debt equity ratio, capital gearing ratio, and the financial leverage. So financial leverage you have already learned in the fourth semester, that is calculating the EBIT, that is operating profit, which will be compared with earnings before tax. Operating as well as the financial leverage, which we have learned, combined leverage ratio. So the same formula goes on with this, okay? So we shall see here the proprietary ratio. So proprietary ratio is indicates due to the extent to which the assets are funded out of the owner's fund. So wherever there is only the shareholders fund which will be digged out, only that will be considered in the case of proprietary ratio. So total assets will be compared with the shareholders fund. So what is shareholders fund here is, shareholders fund will be included with the share capital plus other equity minus miscellaneous expenses and the losses. So that will be deducted, and there is no ideal ratio here because as it is a proprietary ratio, which is the main owner's capital ratio, or it is a owner's fund, you don't get any ideal ratio. Okay, because they are the real investors and you don't want to find out again what is the financial soundness out of them. So for that reason, you don't get any ideal ratio for the proprietary ratio. Next one is the debt equity ratio. So debt equity ratio indicates the proportion of the debt to equity. So debt will be compared with the equity and find out whether there is any high risk or whether there is no risk in the business person. The higher number of indicates the higher risk for the company. So debt will be compared with the equity. So what does debt includes? Debt includes the secured loans and the unsecured loans, which all are the long-term solvency. So equity includes the short-term capital plus other equity, which will be deducted with miscellaneous expenses and the losses, same as here, shareholders fund. So debt is invested with the ideal ratio is 2. Equity, the ideal ratio is 1. Capital gearing ratio, it indicates the proportion of funds with the fixed commitments to the shareholders. How? The proportion of funds with the fixed commitments to the shareholders will be analyzed with the capital gearing ratio. So what does that include? It includes the debt plus preference share capital, which will be compared with the equity shareholders fund. So what is equity shareholders fund here? Equity shareholders fund is nothing but equity share capital plus the other equity minus miscellaneous and always remember, whenever there is a share capital, these miscellaneous expenses and the losses will be deducted. Clear? Very important to be noted down. And what is financial leverage? As I told you, especially this financial ratio or the leverage is especially used to measure the extent of financial risk of the company. What is the financial risk? Whether the company can be able to invest or whether the company is suffering with any financial circumstances, that will be analyzed with the financial leverage only. It measures the impact on shareholders obviously because the earnings before interest tax will be considered, and along with how well the earnings, that is earnings per share, will be considered here. So for that reason, financial leverage plays a very important role. and it directly impact on the shareholders as well. So what is the formula? Earnings before interest tax, which will be deducted with the earnings before tax. So what is EBIT? Sales minus operating cost. EBIT is nothing but EBIT will be deducted with either the interest on borrowings. Clear? Next. So we have learned with the leverage ratio. Leverage ratio was purely dealt with the pattern of capital structure and the extent of risk associated with the capital structure. So what is capital structure? It may be a debt, or it may be any capital, or it may be any proprietary, or it may be any financial ratio, or it may be any capital gearing ratio. So coverage ratio includes only one, that is it indicates the ability of the company to meet its financial obligation. Wherever you come across this ratio, this word is common. So ability of the company to pay its financial obligations, to meet its financial obligation, or to meet its current obligations. So under the coverage ratio, there is an interest coverage ratio. So which is going to indicate or the company ability to pay the companies paying interest on debt and potential for future borrowings. So here EBIT will be compared with only the interest. Okay. Don't get confused with the interest coverage ratio and the financial leverage ratio. Clear? So EBIT is nothing but operating minus profits. So there will not be any ideal ratio. So further you don't have any ideal ratio. So what is activity or turnover ratio? So activity is nothing but it is going to measure the level of activity in the business and efficiency of the assets. The various turnover ratio are explained in the following table. So there are also the activity and the turnover ratio. So what are the activity of the in the business, whether purchasing or whether any sale activity? So that is the activity or turnover ratio which will be discussed. Sales turnover is nothing but the sales ratio which will be discussed. So total assets to turnover ratio, which is going to indicate the efficiency of managing the assets of the firm. So as the name itself tells, it is a turnover ratio which will be compared with the total assets. So turnover divided by total assets. So what is turnover? Turnover refers to the revenue or any net sales of the firm. Okay. So what is total assets? Total assets includes all the assets other than the miscellaneous expenses and the losses. I told you this is very common everywhere. And fixed assets ratio, turnover will be compared with the fixed assets. It is also how well or how efficient the company can manage its financial assets, which will be discussed here. So fixed assets, by the term, whenever you come across with a fixed asset, the depreciation is going to arrive into picture. So whether to take the depreciation? Yes, it should be taken. Book value of the fixed assets after depreciation. After providing depreciation, you get WDV, that is written down value, or the book value. So that will be taken into consideration here in the net fixed assets. Suppose take some example. There is a sale of rupees 8,000. I mean the cost. The machinery is costing rupees 8,000. It is being sold for written down value, that is depreciation is made on 5,000. So what will be the output here? The 3,000 will be the book value, or it may be the written down value. So that should be taken, that 3,000 will be taken in the case of net fixed assets. And one more, the current assets with the turnover ratio. Turnover with the current assets. The turnover refers to the revenue or the net sales of the firms. These all are majorly indicated in order to find out how efficient or how well the company can manage its turnover by keeping these fixed assets or making with the current assets or with the working capital or with any capital employed. So there is working capital. So turnover will be compared with the working capital assets. So capital turnover ratio, it also indicates the efficiency of the capital employed in the business. So turnover will be compared with the capital employed. So what is capital employed? capital employed is nothing but the share capital plus the other equity and also the non-current liability. Inventory turnover ratio. So inventory, as it is the inventory, it is in the terms of stock. So it indicates rapidity of sales and the efficiency of managing the stock. For raw material, there is three circumstances here. In the case of inventory turnover ratio, for a raw material which is being made, raw material consumed will be compared with the stock, average stock of raw material. So by 2 years, opening stock and the closing stock, which will be divided with the number of years. So you get the average stock. So for work in progress, cost of production will be compared with the average stock of work in progress. And for the finished goods, cost of goods sold will be compared with the average stock of finished goods. Clear? And there is also other four which will be discussed. Debtors turnover ratio. So debtors turnover ratio also indicates how well the firm is going to collect its receivables from the receivables. So net credit sales will be compared with the average accounts receivables. So what is average accounts receivable? Opening balance will be plus with the closing value divided by number of years. Usually they will be giving the 2 years data only. So divided with the 2. So here it is opening value plus closing value. Two values are taken divided with the 2. Average collection period is also same. So it indicates the very important average collection period. For further also, it is very important. Not only after completing the BCom it is important, and after completing the BCom also, you'll be asked with the same question. Average collection period. It indicates the average period granted to customers for payments towards the credit sales. Which means, think that you are a customer, you are given with certain duration, like say for example, 3 months duration to pay or settle your amount, or 2 months duration to settle your amount. So you will be calculating how many number of days or how many number of months you will be collected with the amount, you will be collected with the payments. So that will be analyzed in the case of average collection period. So average accounts receivables divided by net credit sales. As the credit sales indicates, you are obtaining with the credit facility. So which will be delayed, it may be either 2 months or either 3 months. So which will be always compared with the 365 days, the number of days in a year. Credit turnover ratio, it indicates the velocity of debt payment by the firm. Soundness. Net credit purchase divided by average accounts payable. So here also average accounts payable will be opening with the closing divided by 2. And also there is average payment period. So which is going to indicate with the average accounts payable will be compared with the net credit purchases. See here, it is a net credit sales, average collection period, but average payment period changes with the credit purchases. Then there is a profitability ratio or performance ratio. This formula purely speaks on with the performance of the company, or how well the company can be performed with a better. So here also you don't find any ideal ratio. First is return on investment. So which indicates the profit generated from operations from the total funds employed in the business. So EBIT will be compared with the average capital employed with the 100. So what is actually the capital employed? So capital employed is nothing but at the beginning, and capital employed at the end will be taken into consideration. So capital employed will be equal to share capital. Okay, what actually this capital employed is? Capital employed is, it is also one of the accounting ratio, okay, which is especially used in finance and also to validate and the accounting, and to measure the relative profitability of the company, and after taking into account the amount of capital used. So what actually this says is, out of the capital which has already been used by the company, it is going to calculate what is the left out profit. Andre, ಈಗ 1 lakh ರೂಪಿನ ನಾನು ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಒಂದು ಕಂಪನಿಗೆ. ಸೊ 1 lakh ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಒಂದು 50,000 ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಕೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅಸೈಡ್ ಆರ್ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಯೂಸ್ಡ್. ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್? And out of that 50,000, what is the profit that will be created, or what is the profit that will be generated, that will be found out, which is nothing but the capital employed. So what does capital employed includes? It includes the share capital plus the other equity plus the non-current liability. Clear? Return on equity. So profit after tax will be considered, and it is a rate on which the return which will be earned out of the company for equity share capital will be taken into consideration. Okay, so profit after tax which will be compared with average net worth. So now earnings per share. Earnings per share deals with always with the equity shareholders. So what does the equity shareholders get? It is the equity shareholders gets, you can tell it is a dividend, but they are also deals with the earnings per share. Earnings available to the shareholders on each share. So what out of the each share invested by the shareholders, what is the earnings that they are going to get will be studied in the case of earnings per share. Very important, even these two. So here profit after tax will be compared with the number of equity shares. Dividend per share, it refers to the amount of dividend paid per share. So per share, out of the per share or value, what is the dividend that is paid by the company will be calculated here. That is total profit distributed to equity shareholders will be compared with the number of equity shares. Gross profit. So gross profit will be compared with the sales, which will be multiplied with 100. Again, the profit volume ratio, PVR ratio, which you have learnt in your marginal costing. So PVR ratio is nothing but contribution divided by net sales will be compared with the whole sum, that is 100, ignoring the fixed assets. It is not going to consider the fixed assets because sales minus variable cost gives you the contribution. For that reason, it is not going to consider the PV ratio, doesn't consider the fixed assets. Profit volume ratio. Volume indicates the sales. Clear? Next, operating ratio, it indicates the percentage of operating cost to sales. So operating cost will be compared with the net sales into 100. So operating, what does operating cost? Operating cost is equals to cost of goods sold plus operating expenses. So operating profit ratio, it is also same. Operating profit into 100 divided with the sales. Net sales will be minus with the operating cost. So what is actually the operating profit? Operating profit is going to depict the profitability of the entity. So what actually the operating profit will be found out by using the operating profit ratio. Whether any improvement needs to be done for the profit, operating profit. So that will be analyzed in the operating profit ratio. Next one is the net profit ratio. So net profit ratio also indicates certain relationship between the top line and the bottom line of income statement. So net profit will be compared with the net sales into 100. Then the price earnings per share, it is also very important, as the name price earnings indicates with the market value. So which shows the relationship between the market value per share and also the earnings per share. So the market share will be given and also the earnings per share will be given. So earnings per share, sometimes you need to calculate, sometimes the problem stays with the earnings per share. Clear? So this is about the ratio analysis and along with the formulas. So the same thing will be sent to you people. So go through with the formula clearly. Okay, thank you.